The Competition Part 2 Final Ending, Part 1 down below. We had a huge mobile network outage yesterday. STBX was at home at that time as per the arrangement. Only we didn't know it's global outage. So, she has been left without a phone or mobile network for the night. Actually, it was somehow funny, because this was always my duty to keep everything functioning, including communication, and obviously, I was not in the mood to offer help. Was she trying to call other man or her mother? Don't know, but she didn't want to use landline. To call OM, mother-in-law, and with our provider, if you don't know exactly what to say, you'll spend hours listening to the music and useless info. She asked my son for help. He's tech-savvy. He suggested to check who can fix it faster, me or the boyfriend. She didn't like it. At the end, she admitted that now when she's living alone at her parents' granny flat, she realizes how much of that stuff she didn't have to deal with. Wonder when she's going to move in with OM now. I need to discuss the parenting plan with her, and I'd like to have it done before Easter. Prefer to deal with that sooner rather than later. It's more or less plain vanilla and just lists what we have already agreed to on paper. There is one gray area in there. I want to limit and delay the introduction of OM to my son, assuming that she's moving towards a stable relationship with him, for as long as possible. Lawyer told me this is a gray area and I need to be polite, respectful, and calm throughout this discussion. I'm not sure how can I maintain that. Until today, all her communications with me were cordial and friendly. She was trying hard, I think, to maintain an image of responsive and caring adults separating amicable. She was also periodically calling and texting me asking about our son, but also about my day, checking on her after work visits. Her mom was also the same when she was visiting after work. Today I sent her an email with the proposed parenting plan and invitation to discuss it on Thursday, so that I can try to progress it straight after Easter. As I mentioned, there was nothing there that we haven't had discussed before. The slow down other man bit is still there, although softened down a bit. Don't get me wrong, I value the advice and am trying to follow it, but I can't bear a thought of him meeting my son. I won't ever be able to forgive myself if I stay passive. Okay, back to the point. After I sent that email out, I've got only a short and I'd say dry response from her, literally okay. Also, I won't be visiting tonight or tomorrow, and that was it. So, I think I'm about to face some anger and resentment. Whatever the reason is, I would like to ask a question though. I have said this before and maintain the position that I was denied an opportunity to even consider R, as my STBX is definitely not crawling back. The S should not be sitting idle waiting for his WS to crawl back if she or he wants to R. At the same time, he or she should not perform a pick-me dance. So where am I with that? I'm not doing a pick-me-up dance, I hope, but am I sitting idle? Where is the balanced way forward between these two? I do care about my son, only they can get together and live happily ever after if that is what they want. I'll wait for the parenting plan. If I feel that it is not working, I'll call the OM and tell him that I'll do anything legal in my power to destroy this relationship as soon as it starts affecting my kid. About my son, to summarize, he loves his mother and will always be her son and will always be there for her. This does not extend to the other man. If my STBX is going to be together with him, other man, he will be polite, but that's it. He will, I have advised to do it when the time comes, not now. Ask his mother to minimize his contact with other man, as he does not feel comfortable live under the same roof with an adult stranger. He wants this arrangement to stay until he turns 18. If at any time until the mother man makes any attempt to be more than a mom's boyfriend to him, he will call child protection and claim unwanted male contact. Once again, I have advised him not to have this discussion now, but clearly expressed how proud I am and how much I respect his adult-like attitude. We'll see how the parenting discussion on Thursday goes. Earlier, shortly, if not the same day, after I have exposed to select family and friends, she called me in anger. There is an older lady who is her close friend, more like a godmother, although I like her a lot as well. Were invited to her upcoming anniversary. Apparently, she canceled via SMS the same day I exposed. So STBX called me in an attempt to find out if I have been uninvited as well, and accusing me of ruining this for all and being exactly that sort of cold and unemotional person she realized I am. STBX called that lady when she's received an SMS and ended up telling her about her new boyfriend, but did not get full support and approval of pursuing her happiness she was probably expecting. The funny thing is I did not really inform that lady, but STBX was unwilling to hear and believe that. Well, we all got an email a couple of days later from the old lady. The anniversary is cancelled as one of her close relatives ended up in the hospital and the prognosis is not very good. She sent SMS to my STBX just because her was playing a major part in the preparation and setting the event, so the lady wanted to let her know earlier. So, my STBX basically busted herself. It's been a silence from her since I sent the proposed plan. Interestingly, I've had a plethora of calls from just about anyone who knows, expressions of support mixed with suggestions to work it out. Except her parents. They never called even to find out my side of the story or to blame me. Update. It is going to be a long one. I'm sorry for the length of it, it's just I really need opinions more than ever. Before I get to TB facts, I have been trying to stick to the facts and leave my emotions out of my thread. I do not think I feel any different from any other betrayed husband. Not happy, Jen. and sharing them is out of character for me. Today I'm going to post a snapshot of them, purely to explain my state of mind and why relatively mundane details of my last interaction with STBX did affect me more than expected. Those who know me well could confirm that I can go hard yards if I know I'm doing the right thing. This was the case for me until Thursday. I was sad, angry and whatever, but I knew that I'm following the only path possible for a man whose wife fell deeply in love with someone else. Separation and divorce were hard and regrettable but natural. So, I didn't mind taking the initiative as I knew I couldn't change her mind to start loving me back and fall back in love with me. Not going to work when she ended up with another man after all these great years together. At least I didn't have spent days guessing if she's cheated, yes, and if she wants no. I was confident, however Thursday did break my confidence, so I'm posting here an attempt to get it back. Now the facts. I could not recognize her when she arrived and I have not seen her for just a couple of days. She is looking 10 years older. I know this is a very common thing for BH to write, but trust me on this one, I am accurate here. She used to get compliments that she looks 10 years younger her age. Now her age seems too caught up in this and not liking healthy. My son was looking forward to seeing her. She missed a couple of days as I mentioned. However, when he learned that we will be going though parenting and financial issues, he expressed his preference to stay out of it and told me he'll hang out with his friend until we are done. I expected an outburst from STBX when I told her that, and she has been shaken badly, I could tell, but she only managed to say, "Guess I have deserved this," which was so not like her, needless to say. We then proceeded with the plans and documents, and she was agreeing with everything without any feedback or opinion, in that sort of monotonous, almost robotic voice. I have had to ask her repeatedly if she is okay and if she is willing to postpone the discussion. "Let's get this done and I deserve this" were the only answers I got. She then decided not to wait for the son. I messaged him to come home, and left. 15 minutes later I have spotted her still sitting in her car. I went to check on her and she was crying heavily as she's done the other day. It was clear it's unsafe for her to drive, so I offered her a cab. She asked me if I'd be willing to give her a lift. I responded that it does not seem like a good idea, so I can call her a cab and drop her car later. She responded with, "I ruined everything, have I?" Then she turned the engine on, pulled down the window and asked me, "May I ask you for the last favor? Can we please talk like we used to last time someday next week?" And drove off. I wanted to ask her what is going on. She's having second thoughts so badly but couldn't do it at that moment. My 3 questions are: what's going on with her? Am I still doing the right thing? Should I have that talk? Clarifications. My refusal to drive her home is a bigger deal than it sounds. We used to drive together all the time, and when we did, my left hand was always off the wheel, like holding her hand. Source of constant jokes and teasing. She called my son 2 times. Nothing significant. I told him she left because she was too upset. His question was, "So if this causes so much pain, why is you two keep doing this?" And constantly reading the crawling back thread. The legal part is going okay. She's agreed to everything. The separation is in place and well documented. I'm getting ready for a lot of setbacks now when the sorrow phase is over. I'm not going to contact her parents. They are the only ones who have not contacted me since the separation. I have no clue how they met and would really like to know, despite that I don't grant need to. If she tells me this voluntarily, I may consider this as remorseful. I sent out an email to her this morning agreeing to meet tonight. To be more specific, she messaged me thanking for yesterday, what the hell, and asking to have the talk again. I asked is she still in really want it, imagining other man talking her out of it. But the response was yes, 1,000 times yes. So, I sent an email agreeing to meet. Now I'm angry, to say it lightly, as I noticed she used this phrase in one of the messages to other man. So, I'm thinking of sending her a meeting invite to make it business. I'm yet to confirm the time, and putting the quote from Bandit's post below as an agenda. I've got more info than I probably ever needed. There will be no way to unknow it. The short version is her mother hooked them up in 2016, and she has tried to set this up before more than 20 years ago when I and STBX, got serious and moved in together. STBX succumbed to it this time, but now the other man is not committing. Short midnight update. I hope the details below may shed some light. As a background, my 1049, I obviously don't consider her MIL at all, but will use the acronym for simplicity, is a very influential person, matriarch of the family, my way or highway type. Wealthy family, strict upbringing, you know. Her personal life and marriage, answering one of the questions, has the same style, rock solid AFAIK, but there's no doubts who always has a final say. She has always been somewhat cold towards me. The root cause, I believe, was simply that I was not her choice and my wife, then girlfriend, did not seek any formal approval of our relationship. So, in the beginning, mother-in-law had concerns that we are moving together way too early, that she, my wife, needs to establish her career first, etc. When we got serious, after high school, I decided to postpone going to the college, not only to get the work experience, but also to spare us from the relationship supported by parents, you know what I mean, 2 students with no money. So, I got a full-time job in the field of my preference, not fast food or grocery chain, rented an apartment, etc. This was the right move, not only from our relationship point of view, but also for my career. I had a good job straight after I graduated. This infuriated her, and I guess made her think I'm some sort of a loser. In her mind had always been private school, job in law, medicine, or finances, and perhaps made her jealous. At that point in time, MIL tried to introduce the other man to her daughter, as was a son of her close friend and was ticking all the boxes above. I now remember him after being reminded. Again, this was 20 plus years ago. Being at some family events, my wife sighed, for no apparent reason. Obviously, I didn't pay any attention at that time. My wife was not interested, and other man dropped off the radar soon. Interestingly enough, he dropped of the college as well, and there was some sort of issue of paying out fees, but apparently this did not change my mother-in-law's view of him. He tried different jobs, property, finances, startups, ended up as the salesman, has been working in UK for a while and surfaced back here. MIL managed to convince my STBX to meet him in 2016. I did not get any plausible reason why she agreed to meet him apart from my interpretation, just being bored with the marriage, and it all went downhill. She admitted he was so romantic, poetical, emotional, and vulnerable, whatever the hell it means. A small detail, hope it is not too much information, that burned me inside. She told me she was feeling awful after it went physical, but the other man was so emotional about that she has been overwhelmed and pushed her own feelings aside. I confess I chickened out and did not ask what the hell does that mean, in fear of hearing the details. Now about not committing. I don't know at the moment if they broke up or not, but this is what I know. After the fallout of the marriage and separation, she turned to her father and mother to support, but received cold shoulder from her mother, so my mother-in-law style. Apparently, whatever happens is for the better, and as I'm not fighting to keep my STBX, I am exactly that sort of wrong choice. She's been warning her. She has to be always right after all. She then turned to other man who apparently went underground. When she, STBX, basically confronted him, he gave her some bull crap story along the following lines. According to him, the dynamics of relationship between men and women changes over time. Like in the past, a premarital bonding was a big no-no, normal these days. So according to STBX, he just told her he represents a more advanced phase where this sort of relationship with married woman is a norm, and he never intended for her to end her marriage over that. It is up to you whether you are going to believe this or not, but that is what I've been told. I need time to process all of this, and this is nor the whole contents of the discussion. At the moment, I haven't made any conclusions. Am I still a glass half full person? I hope I am, or will return to that state eventually. However, I'm happy to be the one only when no one pisses in that glass. After that, it goes straight to the garbage bin, not even a dishwasher. Why, all of a sudden, did she have an urge to talk to me? She made it very clear she has no one else at the moment. Her parents, you got, I hope, a picture of her mother by now, and her father, nice bloke, is angry like never before. Quote, my parents who loved my STBX like their own daughter, cliche but true, she can't reach out to them after what she's done. Friends, they all assume we are or will be working things out, except the few who think our marriage is kaput. So, I'm the one who remains, and I have to admit she has merits in approaching me for support, as I have always been a fixer. What did she do it, and has she broken up with the other man? She said she felt in love, which I believe, and that she doesn't love him anymore. I'm skeptical. She said basically that she acted like stupid cow taking emotional empathy for love at her age, and she can see the other man doesn't have a spine. I was tempted to, but avoided making comments about other body parts he apparently has. According to her, she stopped any contact with him and is trying to move out of her parents to stop contact with mother-in-law. Subtle hint for me to invite her back to our house. That she never stopped loving me. Nice way of showing that. I told her I doubt she whispered I love you opus to his ear in the heat of the moment, and had to fetch her a glass of water as she was sobbing so hard. I got scared I'll have to call ambulance. Yes, he is a player. Good on him. I'll catch up on that. Do I plan B? Yes, at least at the moment. Does she want us to R? Don't know. The only thing she said is that she realizes she has burned all the bridges, and I'm not a person who would ever forget what she has done, so I'd love to, but there is no point. I ruined everything. She knows by now that is the only battle you, means I, will not be willing to fight. Perhaps she is right. Will I ever take her back? I honestly don't know. I want her so badly at times. I'd say yes if I would be responsible for some identified issues in our life together that I could own myself. Unfortunately, and I mean it, I can find nothing of that scale, believe me or not. And if she'd start behaving like a remorseful WWR is not on the table at the moment, in a very distant future at best, and based on condition. That is my logic speaking. My heart may deviate, but not at the moment. Mother-in-law has gone to me, going to be one of these conditions. And no, I'm not okay with uneven marriage. If anything, it'll have to be balanced back to me. I gave this bloody marriage all I had in me. 1. I'll give her that, at least in my interpretation. She never blamed me and keeps repeating this is all on her. She claimed that when delivering "be the love you but not in love with you" speech, she was not criticizing the emotional part of me, just stating that the emotional connection with other man was stronger, and now she wants to take even that back. At the same time, she didn't go to family and friends saying either I cheated on H, my fault, or H is cold-blooded bastard, we are done. The story was we were moving on. Point goes to STBWX, I assume. 2. A lot of apologies for not handling this is in a right way when in love with other man. Admission that no apology can be adequate or helpful now. No point. 3. Some remorse and a lot of regret. No action, in form of being proactive and offer, for the rest. Point goes to divorce, she seems to be moving on, nevertheless. 4. They seem to break up, again she hates him but not being proactive and showing this to me, and C, etc. Actually looks like he dumped her. Point goes to divorce, she seems to be moving on, nevertheless. 5. As above, 3 and 4. No commitment. Point goes to divorce. At the moment divorce wins 3-1. I may reassess the situation if the above changes. It is possible she's too worn and beaten down and doesn't have stamina to try to swim upstream as it has been suggested before, but for now I'll keep doing what I've been doing. I'm tempted to extend a helping hand. But not now, I've decided she needs to make the first move at the very least. As a Bandit.45 wrote, I have nothing to add or comment on his post. All true and I will follow. There is a danger that by being passive in terms of R I may be denying us an R, but under the circumstances the chances of false R or straight thanks but no thanks response are far greater, and I can't afford 1 step forward 2 steps back situation. When it comes to her dating me and competing for me in the future, don't think that is going to happen. Don't think she's that much into me these days. She's smart, good looking, or will be good looking again soon, fit, educated and fun, has a good job, not such a great remuneration but her parents will help. She will have no problems picking up another guy. Way easier than fighting for me and dealing with all the issues of R, especially with no benefit of marriage and an unknown outcome. The R plan must come from her. As for how many times, where and all, I have no info or timeline. No, they hooked up after Christmas and did that more than once. That's all I feel I need to know. That was not one night stand, she wanted him. If R ever happens, she'll have to give me these details. I'm already a plan B, there is no doubt about it. She was in love with other man and he, plan A, dumped her. So, if she does come back, big if, I'll be the plan B no matter what. The other thing is, consequences. Let's say she once R, manages to convince me I'm not plan B anymore, does all the checklist. Sorry, she already gave away something that was so unique to me, and cannot be restored or reversed. Like a car that left the dealership. So now she's stepped out of the marriage, enjoyed the other bloke and just walked back in. Same house, same husband, same family. I get it, she may be working like hell for R, so will I understand if I was abusive and lazy, she wasn't fit and bad cook. Now we are in R, I'm loving and work non-stop, she is in model shape and cooks like a chef. The marriage is shattered but balanced. But in my case, what will she bring to the table apart from being a good wife as she used to be for all these years? Does she get a Coke and get the melted ice? I spent hours thinking, perhaps irrationally, about any real problems in the marriage, not like when I've booked a restaurant table to surprise her. She cooked my favorite the same evening to surprise me, so I could justify our actually. All these years we were teasing each other about everything. The only subject she never liked is that she's unhappy with marriage. I don't have anything outstanding for an update, but this Saturday, Sunday morning here, I guess was some sort of turning point for me. A trusted third party got involved, someone really close to both of us, and informed me that my STBX had a medical problem caused by stress. I'm not posting any details sufficient to say her relatives got worried the way she was behaving and started digging. As a net result, she had to seek medical attention. At the same time said it was my day with son. He always wanted to try kite surfing, so that had been arranged. So, when I got a call Saturday morning about STBX, I literally started to get the gear out of the car so I can go and visit her, with all soap opera-like pictures in my mind. Then I stopped. I changed my mind. Called the third party, confirmed STBX is okay now, grabbed the kid and we spent a day on the bay kite surfing. Loved it, will be buying my own, and jet skiing. It looks shallow and mundane, but this was so not like good old me. I hope I'm starting to detach. Now I realize I wouldn't forgive myself afterwards if I'd allow myself to ruin yet another day. Update. First and foremost, my apologies if I have muddied the water. I am not going to offer, suggest or push for R. About mother-in-law, I do believe she did not want my STBX to have an affair and to ruin her marriage. I know for sure, however, her intent was not so noble as your father's. Based on what I read, he was really trying to save you. But I'm in no position to comment, of course. I'm certain she just wanted her daughter to admit that she, mother-in-law, was right all along, and that was it. Perhaps for me to get the message, via STBX, and to try harder to be her puppet. Or even perhaps to end the marriage properly in an extreme case. I know she is in shock, and I know she's blaming everyone but herself. Buyer's remorse is what I'm worried about. What if I accept R, if offered, but months or years later find out I can't do it anymore? I assume I will be responsible for breaking it and blamed for years of her life wasted. What if STBX will want R, but only as a method of getting back to normal? I can guarantee I'll be angry, pissed and sarcastic for a while. How long will she cope? My personal definition of a successful R is we both happy. For me it means our marriage is back to as it was before. I'm not sure how can I feel happy any other way. Day by day I'm starting to feel marriage back to normal is impossible. Should I engage the fight I can't win? I have proceeded with breaking this normalcy or playing house as you call it. At my first attempt to change something relatively minor, tried to do it as a set of steps instead of big bang, I've got complete and utter emotional brain dump, collapse from my STBX, which included a desperate, for a lack of better word, beg for R, on my terms, a lot of details and offer for the rest if I need them and all assurances the other man does not longer exist. So, I took time out to process all of that. This is draining. I have not committed to R both internally to myself and to STBX. I have just made a mental note that it seems like I have this option available now, in theory at least. I have committed and reconfirmed to STBX that separation and divorce are going ahead. I objected to her ask for R given that officially at least, without my background knowledge, she was in relationship with him, which caused her to terminate the marriage. Skip the part her trying to convince me it's not the case. As I do not believe in the reverse sequence, she is choking in the marriage, wants out, ends up in bed with him. She agreed with the above sequence and reassured me she requested him not to ever contact her again. Later on, I managed to confirm it partially, without telling her. There was an earlier email from her to him, rather hysterically angry I'd say, calling him any name in her book for his part in this. Then he likely called her with his advanced new generation relationship crap. Can't trace it but her next email alludes to that. Then there's one from last week, very cold and official requesting no further contact in any shape or form. Silence since then. I missed these initially as I basically stopped snooping at that time. Here is my first attempt to piece together the recent events. I have no stance at the moment with regards to if I am reconciling, likely not at the moment, and if she is being honest, possible. At least I was able to verify some facts. I have subscribed to the wait and see actions 180 don't stop separation tactics for now. I was determined to stop that normalcy in our interactions during her routine visit on Friday. However, being conflict avoidant with her, as someone noted I am or was conflict avoidant only with her, I'm probably the opposite with anyone else, which even caused me troubles at certain stages of my career. I didn't actually go big bang as suggested and started with something small, like proposing some formal framework around her visits, like the notice via SMS when she is late, telling her I'll be trying my best to be away from home when she is visiting, etc. Her reaction to that was not exactly what I was expecting. Basically, she begged me to allow her to talk. I agreed, well actually did not object, and she started talking history, how she met him, how they ended up, etc. Basically what I'm going to list is the timeline in another post. After listening for some time, I have politely interrupted her by asking why she is telling me all of this and in what capacity am I expected to be listening to this. I'm not in fact her husband as she walked out of the marriage and we are in separation. I urged her in a raised voice not to put a cart ahead of a horse here. She admitted I'm right. I'm not her girlfriend or soulmate, as she has been complaining about the lack of emotional connection, so I'm not sure what am I supposed to do with the info. Her reaction to that I'd call disproportional emotional meltdown. Skipping tears, sobbing, biting the edge of a glass with water, son ordered to stay in the room, she without any push or coercion from my side. Admitted her fault in all this conundrum and tried to reassure me that I have nothing to blame myself for. Told me she realizes now that all this emotional connection and artistic staff is BS. She is responsible for getting herself in and all consequences and her to me and the kid are on her. Asked me to consider giving her second chance and while she realizes some things cannot be undamaged, her sleeping with another man, she would like at least to try. She is not asking for me to stop separation but appreciates if from time to time I can allow her to talk about us. She is willing to apologies to the family and selected friends in person and in my presence. She will cut connection with anyone who sort of supported her in her moving on with other man, some friends of her. This includes my mother-in-law, who actually was not supporting her moving on, just because of her role in this. She'd like to keep relationship with her father but will limit that if I object. She will have no contact with non-related males apart from work. Most of her colleagues are female. She is willing to answer all my questions with all details and is happy to be totally transparent. She will comply with anything else as soon as I ask, basically are on my terms. Never mentioned our son in a think about him context, only how sorry she is he's hurt by her. The above is as structured as it gets from me. It is hard for me to lose her and there is a risk in going on with D, devoting her to a GF status, making her plan C and all. The risk is that she'll eventually get fed up with all this hardship, will say to herself, screw it, I'm already divorced, and move on. I have to take that risk because what I do know for sure that if I don't do that and just welcome her back with no consequences, unless you guys can come up with anything else, initially she'll be happy and loving. Until she stops respecting me as I'll stop respecting myself. I know that, when she's negative about a man she calls him spineless. I will be spineless and it will be a matter of time for me to hear sorry, not in love with you. So, I'll go I need with the plan, just need to prevent myself from getting in the abuse territory. Of course, it won't matter if I can't do R. Both the fact that when the dust settled the reality and magnitude of what happened caught up with me, My kid also snapped and let her have it, and it was not nice. Details, yes, I have them. May not be all of them. Counterintuitive, what I learned is really mundane and does not change the landscape, yet they make a huge effect. Strangely, I'd feel more stable if I learned, being sarcastic here, that she was sleeping with other man, his brother and the next-door neighbor for years. Instead, I have her falling for a stupid player so badly, she felt obliged to follow his script. On Tuesday I attempted to catch up with him on person. No luck, but I'll keep trying. Really want him to repeat some things he said about me in my presence. Months later, I'd say only 3 things I'm certain about. 1. D is happening no matter what. Is there anything after that? I don't know, but if there is an afterlife, mathematically speaking, D is a mandatory but not sufficient condition for it. 2. I am not reading C and don't know what's going on there. 3. STBX knows about 1, and I'm starting to get a feeling she decided to do something about it. The living arrangement has not changed, she's renting and visits as agreed. I'm not spying or monitoring her, but as far as I can see there is no dating. Someone who's really close to her and is trying hard to get us together used the she may meet someone line in a future tense. If I won't change my position, she may move on. Whatever, her efforts haven't stopped but are getting repeatable. In any case, I definitely have other priorities in mind now. That ship has sailed for good. A year later, I'm divorced, but what I think matters more than a piece of legal paperwork. I am a totally different man now. At least that's how I feel. Am not sad, depressed, or God forbid broken. However, to expect me to be better off, bright and jolly after losing my better half of so many years is unrealistic. Lifestyle-wise, I'm stable, but I feel my stance towards relationship and marriage has clearly changed. Traveled a lot with my kid in order to help to cope, and boat is doing fine. My XW. It was up and down these months, from serious attempts of getting me into R to making me the devil incarnate. I'm not sure she's reached the acceptance stage yet. 1 or 2 times I was seriously close to attempting R but realized I can't really do it. I liked an idea suggested by someone to divorce then wait then date back then, but realized it just doesn't work with your ex any step from being just co-parents to anything more romantic inevitably leads to the acceptance of cheating, which I can't do. I personally do believe that she is remorseful, at least in my book. I also think she is, or was, as the intensity is starting to slowly decrease recently, which I understand, doing anything humanly possible to get us into R. At least I run out of imagination if I attempt to find any gaps in her efforts. Devil incarnate moments in my mind are understandable, as it was happening during specific milestones in our divorce process. Or some painful rejections from me. She lost it, then apologized. At the end of days, it comes to my inability to accept the cheating and come up with a scenario of R that wouldn't involve me having to go back to broken marriage. It's like watching a movie knowing who the villain is. No matter how it plays up, R means one day she moves back in, and from that point I'll have to start swallowing this pill. I do not believe she'd run away with him, nor that she'd ever cheat again if we are in fact. Some of the controls she offered as a part of R, perhaps based on suggestions she's got elsewhere, were really extreme, making the new relationship even more awkward. That is not my concern. 1 time is all it takes. Another year later. Back then I wanted nothing more than to restore my marriage to an okay, if not to the original, state. In other words, to have my family of 3 back and whole. I, for the sake of me, could not imagine, yet alone implement any workable solution. I just did not see it possible, short of inventing the time machine. I just cannot imagine it as being possible. Not trusting myself, I'm not an expert after all, I started to hunt high and low for some advice. My search was not successful, nor was my ex in her attempts to change my mind. Now I'm even more sure than ever that was divorce with no reconciliation, right decision. So, while my ears are always open, I doubt there's a compelling argument or model that would change my stance. If someone proves me wrong, I'll be first to admit it. I was nostalgic leaving my first owned home some years ago, but after all was moving into a better one. I personally, and do not intend to generalize it, I do not see much sense in feeling broken or hurt for more than a day per year. My comment: I am glad OP move on. You need to make yourself happy, and sometimes it's moving out of the comfort zone. Maybe there will be something better for his future. Comment down on how you feel about the ending. It wasn't a dramatic one, but it was a realistic one.